Hello, welcome to my channel, Seshat's Wisdom, where you will find insights on the spiritual worlds, a better understanding to help life go a bit more smoothly, because then you'll understand what's really going on. And so, let's talk about a few things. Aside from the nuances of universal law, which, don't worry, we'll get into that because a lot of you are not living your life according to the energies of the universe and how they move. And so it's causing you a lot of strife. But we'll get into that another time. The universal laws are on my website, Seshat's Wisdom, SESHATSWISDOM.com. Review those, but I'm going to be making videos to help you use them so you can get what you want in life. But right now, one of my main goals is not only to educate you about the goings on of the spiritual worlds and what certain things actually are, but I want to resolve a lot of fear that you have. It is a well-known fact that fear does absolutely nothing for any situation you're in. It does nothing. Fear is not effective for anything. And I've read content about how fear makes you cautious and protects you and everything. Okay. Because a lot of people who have fear feel protected. Okay, well, let me get into what I know. And there's different aspects of fear, right? But I want to discuss one issue in particular that I've noticed is rampantly growing and it's making people feel afraid. And that's poverty and homelessness, right? Mainly homelessness. And so the reality is poverty is caused by the blatant neglect of universal law. And it's also caused by the misunderstanding of yourself. And it is also caused by fear. I want to let you know something. When you see people homeless on the street, it's either for two reasons. One, they want to be homeless, or two, they have a mental illness. The first cause, wanting to be homeless. There are a lot of people who are opting not to pay rent, pay mortgage, things of that nature. Instead, they would either live in their car or pitch a tent on the side of the road. A lot of people are doing that in California. And I believe it's because the weather is pretty nice out there. So there are actual communities of people, and a couple of them have been interviewed, and most of them have said that the cost of living in California is entirely too high, and they're just not doing it anymore. They're working and they're saving their money, and they're living a better life doing so. There was even a young lady online who was talking about how she does not pay rent. She just lives at work. Her employer allows her to have a room and she's living her life. She's going on dates, things like that. And so you have that side of poverty, or homelessness rather, because poverty and homelessness, I wouldn't put them on the same level, but they both are connected. Homelessness. So you have that side. And I've seen people like YouTubers talk about being displaced and then, saying it's a spiritual journey. I believe the one of the members of In Vogue, she decided to be homeless and she said it's a spiritual journey. I want to elaborate on the focus of being homeless because you want to. Aside from some people believing it's just a financially savvy decision, there's also another element to that, and that's people paying off karmic debt. Have you ever seen some people put themselves through agony and misery? Maybe you're one of them, and you wonder why. Why are they doing that to themselves? It's because it's their spiritual path to resolve karmic debt. In the suffrage, it spiritually relieves karmic debt. When you come onto this plane, it's either to relieve karmic debt or because you're here on assignment. That's the only two reasons why you are on this plane. Relieving karmic debt incorporates you living a life, going through the trials and tribulations, gaining karma, doing good for others. And also, while you're on this plane, you can't avoid it. You will tick away karma. But when it comes to poverty, if you are suffering, then it's resolving karmic debt. And you decide when you don't want to suffer anymore. Now, the other side, being mentally ill. There are homeless people who are mentally ill, who are on drugs, or just have an illness. It could be anything, but it's focus on mental. And you see, they are on the street. And depending on what their mental illness is, it's supported by that lifestyle. And they are functioning in that way in their minds. Then there's people who get addicted to drugs. The issue with drugs is that messes with your inner worlds. There's going to be a video on that. When you take drugs, it messes with the worlds within. That is why you see that some people on drugs are homeless, because drugs ruin your connection with the spiritual world. It severs something in your body and causes you to act in a negative way. And so then we have the mental illness side, right? Where maybe they're not taking drugs, they're just mentally ill. That's also a conflict of the inner world. And there's so many different diagnoses for mental illness that you cannot just put your finger on one cause because everyone is different. But in general, mental illness exists, and it's a very, very serious thing, obviously. And it's specifically due to spiritual warfare. And that's what we are in right now. And a lot of people are on the brink of a mental breakdown because of spiritual warfare. And that's also a part of why Seshat's wisdom is here, to resolve that. This video is pushing 10 minutes, and so stay tuned for part 2.